All right, everybody, today is Tuesday, September 22nd. Make sure you have your attendance quiz done, that you take your notebook out and go ahead and update your table of contents. Today, we are talking about the linear parent function. Again, today is the 22nd, not the 21st. All right. Today, our learning targets are that we're going to be able to find the linear attributes, x-intercepts, y-intercepts, slope, and that we can find the rate of change. All of this from graphs. So first thing we need to do is learn about the linear function. So a linear parent function is the most basic type of linear function. The linear function is this equation right here or this equation. Now, before we can name all of our attributes, what we need to do is graph this equation, and we're going to graph it by using some points. So let's fill in our table here. You want to go ahead and draw this table here in your notes. So my equation is y equals x. So every time I have an x value, it's going to be the same y value. Same here, x value, same f of x value. So if I have -2, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. That's how this equation works whenever it says y equals x. That's why it says it's the most basic. There's nothing added to it, nothing multiplied to it. It's very, very simple. So when I graph this, my first coordinate, I'm going to go ahead and put that for my origin. I have -2, -2. I have -1, -1. 0, 0, I already plotted. 1, 1. And 2, 2, and 3, 3. Okay, those are just some of my points. I could have plotted more, but I'm just going to have at least those. And then I draw my line showing my linear function. You want to make sure you draw that graph as well. Now, at this point, I need to go ahead and name my attributes. So, first off is my slope. What's my slope? Well, my slope is my pattern, right? What was my pattern? I was adding 1 each time, and I was adding 1 to my x's each time. So my slope is 1 over 1, which is just 1. So slope is pretty easy. My domain. Notice when I go left to right, I have 2 arrows. So my domain is all real numbers. Notice it'll be the same for range because when you go down and go up, you have 2 arrows. So that's why it'll be all real numbers for domain and for range. All right, moving on to x and y intercept. What are those? An x-intercept is the point where the line crosses the x-axis. What is the y-intercept? The point where the line crosses the y-axis. 2 things that I suggest that you write down, by the way. Now, what is it for our graph here? It's going to be our coordinate right here, because this is the point where I'm crossing the x-axis and the y-axis. Now, when I write my x and y-intercept, I must write this as a coordinate. Never write it as a single number. If you do, I will count it incorrect. It must be written as a coordinate. So for my x-intercept, it's going to be 0, 0. And in this case, my y-intercept ends up being exactly the same as it is as my x-intercept, which is 0 to 0. That is not always going to be the case. Majority of time, those two will be different, but there are some cases, like now, that we get 0, 0. All right, so you want to go ahead and sketch this graph. Pause the video to sketch it, and then resume to come up with the attributes. All right, so I'm coming up with my attributes for this graph. First thing I'm looking for is my x-intercept. Where is it? I'm crossing the x-axis. My x-axis is right here. I'm looking for where my blue line crosses, which is right here. Remember, we have to write this as a coordinate. Whenever I write a coordinate, x goes first, y goes second. So 2, 0 would be my x-intercept. Moving on to my y-intercept. My y-intercept is where I cross the y-axis. So where is my blue line crossing the y-axis? I go all the way down, and I see it's right here at -6. So my y-intercept, again, X goes first, Y goes second. My y-intercept is 0, -6. Now, I need to come up with my slope. I can use these two coordinates if I want, and go ahead and put it in my slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You can go ahead and do that right now if you want. I would rather go ahead and just use my graph. How much did I rise to get to my point? How much do I run? So I rose 6, I ran 2. My change in y over change in x is 6 over 2. We have to simplify it if possible. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So my slope is 3. Notice 1, 2, 3, 1. Here's another point. 1, 2, 3, 1. That just further proves that I do have a slope at 3. All right, let's move on to domain. Domain, again, notice I see 2 arrows up and down. So, and when I go left to right, I see 2 arrows, which then tells me my domain is all real numbers. I'm going to start using a symbol for all real numbers. That symbol is a capital R with a line through it, okay? Whenever I get all real numbers, often I'm going to use this symbol here, just so you have to know that it means all real numbers. Okay, moving on to the next graph. Pause the video, see if you can get this. Get these attributes before I do. All right, so my x-intercept is -8, so I have to write it as 0. Nope, wrong way. Make sure you're putting your x's first. So I need to write it as -8, 0. Okay, always x first, y second. All right, now my y-intercept. My y-intercept is -2. X, y. My x is 0. My y is -2. All right. I'm going to go ahead and use those 2 coordinates to come up with my slope. I see my line is going down, telling me my slope is definitely going to be negative. When I'm going down 2. When I'm going to the right, I'm going right 8. So -2 over 8, that can be simplified to -1/4. If it can be simplified, I always want it simplified. So -1/4 is my slope. 2 arrows left and right, domain is all real numbers. Up and down, all real numbers. All right, we will continue this in part 2 of this video.